morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. This is the Roaming Prepper channel, and I'm your host, Pete. And today, I want to go down the rabbit trail a little bit. Purely hypothetical, so I'm going to throw my symbolic disclaimer up on the stage here. But what if the AT&T wasn't a system error? What if it wasn't our government? We like to blame our own government. Let's just say our government's incompetent or they don't have their shit together, which is absolutely possible. Why is it that I think maybe if it's a foreign entity, an enemy of the state, so to say, what were they after? Let's just hypothetically look at this as, let's say someone was trying to do something bad. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with sharing a screen actually, and bear with me just a second. Um, And there we go. A pretty picture, but that's not what I wanted to show you. Instead, what I want to show you is this neat thing called the outage map. Now, this came from, we're going to hide that one because we'll talk about that in a minute. This is a map, a snapshot of the maps that shows where the worst of the outages were. Now, as you can see, um, big cities, LA, Houston, Dallas, right? No surprise, more cell towers, more people. If there's a failure, it affects more. Excuse me. Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, which is interesting because that's a big server farm for the government, but I'll get back to that. New York, Washington, San Francisco, Seattle. You notice there's big swaths of the country that had minimal disruption. Now, this original map came from CBS News, and the air source was down detector, which a lot of us were looking at. So, what are they after here? Let's just say this is a bad guy, and the bad guy says, I'm going to do something horrendous, and I'm going to hack phones and cause trouble. Well, New York makes sense, biggest city in America, right? Hold on, so New York makes sense. Let's talk about Los Angeles, second biggest port in America, makes sense. Houston, energy capital, third largest city, same as Chicago and Detroit, big cities. Dallas, big agricultural and train route, interesting. And just north of New Orleans, Slide L, if you look at it right here, because New Orleans is actually right about here, but it was north of New Orleans. Out in that area, you have Stennis Space Center. You have Belle Chase Naval Air Station. You have a lot of stuff. And then, of course, Miami and Tampa and Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a big naval base. Obviously, over here, a bunch of naval bases, Coronado and all those other areas. And, of course, Boston, New York. Right at the face of it, made a lot of sense. So I started digging. I was curious. I'm like, well, why not the middle here? Like, what was going on here? Why, who doesn't care? I mean, you got what's interesting here. There was a lot of outage. That's not by the oil and gas fields. Oil and gas fields are further out this way. That's right on top of Dyes Air Force Base, Goodfellow, and then San Antonio is down here with Nellis and Fort Sam Houston. Fort Hood is over here. And that's when I was thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe there was something else going on. So I'm going to bring you another map. So remember this map. Just keep this one in mind. We're going to come back to that map here in a second. I want to bring up this map. Oh, not that guy. Hang on a second. This guy. And let's expand him a little bit. Do do do. Well, hell's bells. What are you seeing here, guys? Now remember when we did the Chinese balloon exercise? I plotted the path of the balloon and then I plotted the path of military bases in the way of the balloon. And here's the phone outages and the path of the phones. Sorry, the path of the phones, because the phones were flying in the air, and the location of strategic bases. Redstone Arsenal, Robbins Air Force Base, Joint Base Charleston, of course, Norfolk and Washington, D.C., Langley, yeah, Pentagon, Andrews Air Force Base, where the president goes in and out. And then, of course, you have Picatinny Arsenal, Fort Drum's way up here, Joint Base McGuire, Fort Carson, Fort Bliss. Uh, this, I believe, which I'm surprised. And keep in mind, these are air bases, right? So this is so you guys are probably like, well, where the hell's Fort Hood? This is primarily Air Force bases. Fort Carson's an interesting one because Fort Carson also houses some JSOC elements. So I will get back to that as well. So you kind of see how these bases overlay. But wait. So I'm like, all right, let me dig a little more. Let me dig a little more. And again, this may be totally going off the rails here. Hang on a second here. Oh, nope, that's just me. I didn't want to do that. Hi. That. There we go. Bam. Let's expand this guy. All right. 489th Bomber Group. That's where the B-1s are, or supersonic bombers. And they are, ta-da, right over um, in Dyes Air Force Base. Dallas, Fort Worth, you have a naval reserve base and Army and a few other for the, I'm sorry, various air wings. Bunch of air wings out of San Antonio area. There's Miami, or Miami-ish. That's a little south of Jacksonville. Navy has something up here. You kind of starting to see where I'm going here. So why don't I pull them all up together? I'm going to pull one up here. Hold on. Let's put them. Well, that wasn't very fun. Let's try that again. Hang on a second here. Bear with me. So one, right? Ta-da. Looks fancy. Let's put this guy. And let's pull up the military bases. Now tell me, is it just me? Okay, that big back there's Fort Hood, Houston, San Antonio, the air bases, Joint Base San Antonio, Joint Base San Antonio, Bliss. So not looking just at the cities, Dallas, Houston, LA. Let's look at what else is there. Like, why is it so concentrated here? Well, look what's all here. What about Atlanta? Why is Atlanta so interesting? Robbins Air Force Base, uh, Fort Jackson, Redstone Arsenal. Look at these overlays and look at this. Bing here, right this intersection of these two states. So St. Louis and go straight west. So let's get St. Louis. There's here St. Louis goes straight west. There's another base. Seattle, big naval bases there. California, San Diego naval bases. This is the outage map. This is a map of more significant military bases. Look at all these clusters here in this map, and they correspond. Now, granted, AT&T does use, sorry, the federal government uses AT&T preferred over certain other vendors, and it's also the biggest carrier. So this all makes sense, right? But God bless. So this is strange because if you look at it at its face value, um, that's a hell of a correlation. Like, why not here? Granted, why not Vegas? Vegas should be a red dot. That's a big target. No. Um, these are nuclear missile silos all up here, but the outages weren't severe. Am I fishing here? Am I missing something? I mean, let's look at Chinese balloon path. Okay, apparently I cannot spell Chinese balloon path, which is kind of embarrassing. Oh, I'm going to show you this one now, guys. Hang on a second here. Or maybe I will not show this to you. Bam, here we go. So, oops, never mind. So clearly it's not going to work for me right now. Sorry, guys. I was trying to get it. Let me see if I can snip it and I'll share it because that just popped in my head as I was, bam. Okay, I think I got it. And now let's introduce this guy. That was the Chinese balloon from last year, right? Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. You see all the things they went over, including our Billings, Montana. This are our nuke locations up here. The outages weren't big, but you see that correlation here? And these bases right down the middle of the country, almost in a diagonal. The balloon at that altitude could see a lot. Yo, that's insane. The correlation between these outage maps, these bases, specifically Strategic Air Command, and the stupid balloon, which I can't find now. Tell me, am I mean, one of the things I'm known for as an engineer is finding patterns in behaviors and other systematic things going on, trying to look into the trends. Doggone, like that balloon right across here, which also corresponds to these smaller bases, but these strategic air command bases. Oh, nope, that's it. Sorry, guys. My all my pictures are screwed up now. That guy, right? The balloon where the outages happen. You want to really put the US of A on its butt. Shut down our air wings because the Air Force and Space Force are also responsible for air defense systems. So that is horrifying. If you also notice, these outage maps also correspond to cities that have some of the biggest, largest contingents of foreign nationals seeking asylum in those cities. Now, granted, that may be reading too much into it because it's a city, right? People go there to work and live. So, yeah, it has more population, more people will be attracted to it as they come in. So, that may be a bit of a stretch, but y'all, and it's not a one for one map. But that's the kind of thing that bugs me. If you look at it and you just think about it and you stare hard at those maps, I invite you guys to look into this yourselves. But was that a dry run to mess with our air wing? You take out our, especially our fighter wings and our air defense systems. That's a good way to really discombobulate us and make us incapable of defending our airspace. Um, Maybe a bit of a stretch, probably is, but it's interesting to think about that because if it was a foreign player, I would want to mess with those areas as well, based on where the bases are. So, anyway, folks, something to think about down the rabbit trail. Again, this is purely hypothetical. This is a hypothesis I came up with while I was staring at the maps, going, why these areas? Other than that, there were some of them had big cities, not all of them made sense. What the hell is between Houston and Dallas? Why did that go dark? Why did that have so much cell problems? What the hell is east of St. Louis, west of St. Louis? There's nothing there. It's farmland. Oh no. There's a strategic air command base there, a big one. Am I wrong? I hope I'm wrong. But that makes you wonder, is someone probing our defenses? Is someone trying to see if they do something, how the government, how our systems react? And what's even funnier, it's been days since the failure, and nobody's really given a good explanation as to what happened. But the very next morning, pharmacies were reporting outages of their ISP servers. Something happened. We just don't know what. But in any case, folks, I'm going to leave you with that one. God bless, Godspeed, be smart out there. And remember, something could happen when you're not at home. So plan for having to get on foot if you're in a town or having a place to stay. If you're traveling far from home, make sure you have a place to go. And I would consider, if you're a regular traveler like me, now I don't go to the same cities all the time, but I also pack light. If you travel regularly between 2 or 3 cities, you may want to consider renting a small storage locker and having a kit waiting for you. Just something to think about. You guys be safe out there. God bless, Godspeed, and try to keep out of trouble. We'll see you guys on the next video. And till next time, yeah, just keep safe. We'll see you.